Hi, my name is Leslie Sturgis, and I am the president of the Save Lucy campaign. We are located in Augusta County, and we do rescue and rehabilitation of bats. We only deal with local bats, no big giant flying foxes or vampire bats or anything like that, just regular old bats that live right here in Virginia. Thanks for joining us. Virginia is home to 16 species of bats, depending on where in the state you happen to be standing and what season it might be. The smallest is about 4 grams as an adult. That is just over a gummy bear. And the largest tops out at around 35 grams, which is just over an ounce. So none of our bats are big. Baby bats are born at a couple of grams. Some are even born at just under a gram, so they're extremely tiny. They grow very quickly, and they have to go from a tiny little pink pup with no fur to an adult-sized, flying, hunting mammal in just 8 weeks. So that's a really fast growth rate. That's similar to songbirds. Bats live a long time, and our big brown bat can live to be 15. Our little brown bat can live to be over 30. This is dinner preparation. We feed our bats mealworms, and these are fresh out of the refrigerator and sifted, but they're still cold, so they're not moving. And here we have some warmed up mealworms who are wiggling around. Bats here eat mealworms because we can't put flying insects in a cage or out into the building because it would drive me crazy. So we're going to go into the room where our education ambassadors live. When bats are recovering, or the ones who live here to be education ambassadors, live in these lovely zippered canvas crates, and that keeps them safe and keeps them contained. This crate, which belongs to Flip, one of our education bats, I'll show you what it looks like. He has some stuffed logs and animals to crawl around on, a little fake tree to get in, and then here's his water dish and a dish of delicious mealworms. Yum. So this is Flip. Flip is a big brown bat, and this is our second largest species in the area. And Flip weighs in at about 16 grams, and a really big, chunky, mature, big brown bat. Oh, he's echolocating, by the way, and he's leaving. Whoops, bye, Flip. So I got Flip to come back and maybe sit in my hand a little bit. So this is Curly. He's another big brown bat, and you can have more of a sense of how big they actually are, which isn't very. And there goes Curly echolocating, and you can see that Curly's actually missing a tooth up top and down in the bottom. So, and he doesn't like this light very much. There he went licking his lips. I think he probably would like his snacks. I'm going to put this on pause, and we're going to give him a snack and see if we can't catch him eating a bug. That is really what their role is to eat tons and tons of insects every night. And that helps farmers, and it helps forests, and it helps everyday gardeners, because these guys take out pests. So we call them flying pest control. So there we go, a big brown bat. And this is Baby. Her real name's Argo, but she was born here, so we always called her Baby. And she is a silverhair bat. And you can see she has a much darker fur color. She's actually black with silver tips, and her ears are quite round. And she's shivering right now because she was sleeping, and I woke her up. And this is the way bats warm up to go about their business. So because they're such high energy animals, when they sleep, they actually drop their body temperature and slow their heart rates and slow their breathing. And in order to wake up, they have to shiver like this. So she's not scared, she's just sleepy. And you can see those sleepy eyes right there. This is a beautiful little red bat hanging from the top of a red bat cage, and we have named this little girl Pois because we like to name our red bats after fruit, and Pois is French for pear, and she's trying very hard to stay asleep and not wake up because it's still daylight and bats are nocturnal. This is what red bats do. They roost in trees, and they are camouflaged to blend in with leaves and branches so you can walk under them and you would never know they're there. So next up is Bits. Bits is an evening bat, and she looks a lot like a big brown bat, only she's really little. She has a super cute face. She has a broad muzzle, but even on a good day, she wouldn't weigh more than 10 or 11 grams. Oh, there we go with those lights again. We don't really like those lights shining in our eyes so much. So there you have the evening bat. And I really want to introduce you to two very special little bats. These are Kerfuffle and Boots. And they are tricolored bats. And they are actually state endangered. So here's Kerfuffle next to the same quarter we put Bits next to, and you can see she's much smaller. So this is our smallest, one of our smallest bats in the state. They only top out at about 6 grams, and they're a kind of sandy brown, and they're state endangered because of white nose syndrome. And also she's shivering to try to wake up just like Baby was earlier. So this is a tricolored bat, a state endangered species. And we should not miss the fact that she is peeing. And bats lift their tails so they pee away from their body. There you go. Bat pee. Exciting. So when I introduced the bats, I talked a little bit about their size, but I wanted to talk about how much they actually weigh. And since the bats won't stay still to be weighed, we're going to use gummy bears. So, our smallest bat, the tricolored bat, Kerfuffle, she weighs between 6 and 7 grams. So, 2 gummy bears. Bits, the evening bat, she weighs around 9 grams. So, 3 gummy bears. The red bats come in between 12 and 15 grams. So, how about maybe 4 gummy bears? Or a big one could be 5 gummy bears. And then the big brown bat, Curly and Flip, they are between 15 and 20 grams. So let's call it 18-ish grams for an adult male. And here we go. 6 gummy bears. So if you think about it, that's not very big at all, even for the big brown bat. I want to talk a little bit more about bat sizes. So what I have here is a tracing of a big brown bat with its wings stretched out. And I have 2 6-inch rulers here. And you can see that in flight, a big brown bat has about a 13-inch wingspan. So that's not all that big, though it might seem like it. And on the other end of the spectrum, what we have here is a little brown bat skull. I'm going to see if I can keep it in focus for you. It's so tiny the camera has trouble focusing on it. But there are its itty bitty 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 little teeth. You can see it has great big eye sockets. I'm going to zoom out so you can see how tiny that skull really is. And there's our big brown bat in the background. I'm going to put our little brown bat skull away very carefully. But I will tell you a secret. Whoops, see, it's very hard to do these things backwards on video. But I'm going to tell you, this is actually not a real skull. It's called a bone clone. It's made from very fine plastic from a mold of an actual skull. And the reason we use bone clones rather than actual skulls is because they're a lot tougher. A little skull like that could crush if you put a coffee cup on top of it. And I know that because I did put a coffee cup on top of a bat skull and it was just powder. Next, I want to talk about how bats fly. And in order to understand how animals work in general, you need to know a thing or two about skeletons. So this is a bat skeleton. And I'm going to try and keep that reflection off of here. But this is a broken bat skeleton. I don't know if you can see that left shoulder blade is not quite as attached as the right one. Remember, this is in reverse. We're looking at the front of it. And that's because I dropped it. And bat skeletons are hard to find, so we just make do with our broken skeleton. But as you can see, the bat has a skull on top, where you would expect a skull to be, the backbone here, these huge shoulder blades, and super long arms. Compare this to the length of your own arm, and you'll probably notice that your forearm, the wrist, if you fold it up next to your body, your wrist doesn't stick up above your head. Or better yet, if you fold your arm up alongside your body, your elbow doesn't come to your hip and your forearm doesn't stick up past your head. So these are very long arms. The other thing to notice is bats have itty bitty bitty little hips and they have a tail. So bats don't walk on their hind legs like we do, so they don't have a lot of muscles down here. They're actually very, very small down here, but they have this giant shoulder girdle, and that's to power these amazing long wings. Now let's look at these fingers. Look at how long those fingers are. They are so long that they are actually longer than the bat is long. So that's pretty amazing. So the wings are literally their hands. So here's the thumb right there, and then we go down to the first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. So in science, this is digit 1, digit 2, digit 3, digit 4, and digit 5. Because we understand that the thumb is just a different kind of a finger. So there you go. Bats are called Chiroptera, which means hand wing. So let's look at an actual bat wing. This is actually a deceased bat, a dead bat, so this one won't go anywhere, unlike my real bats. But you can see, now we're looking at this one's back, but you can see the thumb sticking out the top of the wing. And I've lost my tweezers already, my pointer. I guess I'll use these scissors here. So you can see the same structure though. Here we have the thumb, and there's the fingers right there. And then this is the forearm, and this is the upper arm. Let's turn this guy over. You see he doesn't move very much. And now we're looking at the bottom side of the wing, just like we were on the skeleton. And there's the upper arm, there's the forearm, and here are the fingers. So this kind of bat is actually a red bat. And you can see he's fluffy, and his fur color is actually kind of reddish. They don't look nearly as cute dead as they do alive. What I have here are bat detectors, and Bat detectors allow you to hear ultrasound. I have two different kinds here. This one's making an awful lot of noise when I talk, so I'm actually going to turn it off. But I do want to point out that what you are seeing is my voice scrolling along here, and the sound you're hearing is the ultrasonic parts of my voice. So let's just turn that off. And the other one I have here is a more simple kind of bat detector, but what it does is it also allows us to hear ultrasound. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that one on, and you can hear all the hissing. So again, there's ultrasound in our voices. So what I want to do is show you, or let you hear, what a bat sounds like who is echolocating. So here we have Curly, our big brown bat, and Curly is nice and awake, and hopefully he's going to echolocate when I offer him a mealworm. So I'm going to turn this bat detector back on. I'm going to set it up at an angle with our mealworm so it's pointed towards Curly, and I'm going to feed Curly. And we're going to hope that knowing he's getting a bug will encourage him to echolocate. Or not. Or he might just grab it. Well, we can hear ultrasound in chewing while he's working on that. I'm going to move him a little bit closer to the screen. I don't know if it's going to focus on him or not. Oh, there we go. Let's see if our Curly's going to echolocate because he wants another one. Will you please? There we go. You can see when his head bobs around like that, he's echolocating. See if we can get his face. Whoops. Hang on, let's give him another one. I'm trying to keep him in the middle of the screen. Easier said than done. Well, apparently that mealworm was not to his liking. And there he goes, echolocating away. And he's gone. I want you to be able to see that as his mouth moves, and he's sleeping again. But what he is doing is using sound to get some information about the room and what's going on in here, as well as where is the bug. Let's try that again. And let's see. It's kind of early for, oh, there we go. You can really see sound with a spectrogram like this. So I love using this, and as you can see, it is twilight now. Twilight. And this is a little early for bats to be coming out, but they're out. See, there's the calls right there. The little dashes that are going across right now, those are bat calls. Right there. And this is one that's very close. You can see how the end. Oh, wow. Yep, I can see it by looking up. And I'm going to guess that that's a big brown bat, and there's more than one because those calls are so close together. Super cool, right? I'm going to try and put the phone up so you can see the actual bat the next time he makes a pass. Or she. Probably a she, because the moms are raising babies right now. Well, those are mosquitoes that are flying around in the... Oh, nope. That's very hard to videotape bats. All right. I'm going to show you a little video we made of a bat pup growing up here at the Save Lucy campaign. You can see how little this 3-week-old pup is and how it progresses to being a flying bat and gets released. Enjoy. Unfortunately, right now, Virginia's bats are facing some threats. The first is habitat destruction and the fact that people sometimes aren't very nice to bats. The next most serious threat to bats is white nose syndrome, and that's a fungus that grows on them while they're hibernating in caves. And here in the western part of Virginia, the caves are here in our backyards. So the bats go in for hibernation in winter and fungus grows on them and it causes them to burn up all the fat they stored over the fall. So they don't survive the winter. And unfortunately, we don't see it happen because it happens in the caves. And people don't notice that the bats aren't coming home in the summer. We do hear from a lot of people that they've noticed that aren't as many bats around as there used to be. So some people are noticing it. And it's very sad. We've lost about 90% of our cave-dependent bats, the ones who hibernate in caves during the winter. Not all of our bats hibernate in caves, though, so some are still around, like the red bats and the silverhair bats. And actually, our big brown bat tends to not use caves in this area, so they seem to be doing okay as well. And then finally, this year in particular, we aren't able to rehabilitate any bats. We can keep the ones we have as long as we don't release them, but there's a fear that people will give COVID-19 to our North American bats. Our bats don't have COVID-19. They didn't cause COVID-19, and they're not very closely related to the bats in China where people think COVID-19 might have come from. But I want to be clear that the virus that causes COVID-19 is not the same virus that was found in bats in China. It has mutated if it is the same virus, and it looks like if it is a mutation, it either happened a long time ago or it went through another species before it became a problem for people. So it's important not to blame our bats, any bats, for COVID-19. No wild animal gets up and thinks about how to give people diseases. So I think that's another point we need to keep in mind, is that bats or any wildlife isn't out there to hurt us, and generally they help us more than they harm us. So if you want to help bats, you can. Just leave them alone first and foremost. If you find one you think needs help, you're welcome to reach out to the Save Lucy campaign and we will do our best to advise you. But more importantly, if you find bats in a barn or in an outbuilding or someplace where they're not actually living with people, leave them alone. Let them stay out there to eat the bugs and to live their lives, and it just helps everyone. We need bats, and bats actually need us right now. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this, and please keep in touch. Bye.